Welcome to a brand new episode of a Fairy Dust Friday. Let me adjust. Here we go. Adjust my camera just a little bit there. Fairy Dust Friday, FairyDustTV live today. I'm so excited that you've decided to join me. And today's topic is a super hot topic. Why did he disappear? I'm your host today, Jen Burton, romantic fairy godmama for smart, successful single women around the world. I'm super excited about this topic today. This is a topic I could honestly talk days about. Days and days and days. This is a question I get asked very often from my clients. You know, when a guy, decides to check out of the dating process with her, what's going through his mind? Why do you need to know that? I'm going to start with a story. Now, it's been a long time since a guy checked out on me. In fact, it's been over 9 years, but I remember it all too well, and I remember how incredibly hard it was. What happened is this all started in 2006, and in 2006, my ex-husband and I at the time decided, before we were divorced, we decided to do a trial separation and live in separate cities about 3 hours apart from each other. And on our 3rd year anniversary of our marriage, we tried to get together to see if we could work things out. Well, I figured out that weekend. And you can check out my website at havehimyourway.com for more details. But I figured out that this wasn't for me anymore. But I still did not have the courage to ask him for a divorce. So I got on my knees and I prayed to God to send me a sign. Well, 3 days later, I was out with my sister, and a man approached me, and we started talking. And by the way, this wasn't a particularly gorgeous man or anything. I wasn't weak, but weak in the knees or anything for him. But at the end of that conversation, he looks at me and he goes, "Well, how about I take you out on a real date?" Now, I did not know at the time what it meant to be an adored woman. I had had so many bad relationships. I was currently at the end of a really crappy marriage. I'd had some great moments, but I didn't truly understand what it means and what it feels like to be a woman who is loved, adored, and cherished by a man who feels the same about her. And so when he asked me out on a date, I couldn't recollect at the top of my head when I'd ever been asked out on a real date. Now, of course, I've been out on dates, don't get me wrong, but to have a man be so forward as, "Will you go out on a real date with me?" Something changed at that moment. And this man really started to intrigue me, even though physically I didn't find him all that attractive. Well, in that moment, I found myself over the next few months in a whirlwind romance. I lost my mind for this guy. I was having more fun than I'd ever had with a man in my entire life. He was not only an amazing kisser, he was good in bed. We had a great time when we went out on dates. It was really, really good. And I finally mustered up the courage to ask my husband at the time for a divorce. And as soon as I did, without me saying anything to this other man that I was having this whirlwind romance with, that guy disappeared. And I flipped out. Seriously, flipped out. I thought I was going to lose my mind, because now, not only was I getting a divorce, my ex-husband was moving in with another woman, but the guy that I thought was the love of my life, even though we didn't have any exclusive terms, by the way, I just assumed that because everything was so wonderful, he was gone too. And I went into obsession mode, which meant I texted him and I called him and I did everything I could to try to figure out what was going on. I did have some things that saved me, though. He legitimately disappeared for the next, I'd say, 2 or 3 months. I couldn't think of anything but him every day. That's what I was thinking about. But I took enough steps in the right direction to help break that obsession. And we're going to talk about how I did that, because that's really a good point that we need to address when we're talking about a guy that disappeared. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But first I want to get to the big question, the one that you showed up here for. And that is, why did he disappear? I'm going to give you the top 4 reasons. I'm going to read off my notes today just to make sure I don't leave any of them out. But the top 4 reasons that men do disappear. And these are really good. This is real excellent information for your dating life, because I need you at the end of the day to take a deep breath and be able to process all this so that you can start creating what you want with men. So number 1, what's the number 1 reason that men disappear? Now, I am specifically talking about, in the dating phase, as I was. I'm not talking about in a relationship when a guy disappears. That's it's an entire conversation, and we'll address that on another live episode. But the first reason is that men, it's not uncommon for a man to take a pause and to consider you two long term. Okay? We're going to call this the man pause. All right? That's the new phrase for us. So the man pause. So this happens, let's say things are going really well. You guys are hitting it off. Everything's going well. And he just basically takes a breath, and he doesn't communicate with you during this time. And it might take a day, a 2, or a week. And for me and my current husband, it actually would take, his man pause lasted 5 weeks. I'll get to that in just a second. But understand that this pause, it's just a man pause. And I want to reframe this, because this is where most women freak out. We automatically assume and go so deep into our insecurities when a man hasn't continued the communication with us exactly the way he has before, that we flip out on him. And when we flip out on him, then we start texting, we start obsessing, we start doing stupid things, or we start sending those "is everything okay" text messages. And in this moment, in this man pause, a guy just needs a minute to consider, and a minute, again, can be a day, a week or so, just to consider whether or not he sees you two long term, which is the same thing that you should be able to do as well. Now, again, most women freak out in this, but this is actually a blessing. A man pause is a blessing. So let's interpret this as if you had just eaten the best meal of your life. It's amazing. What do you do after that? Do you start eating another huge best meal? No, you'll start vomiting everywhere. And it doesn't feel good. It hurts. Instead, you take some time to digest. And this is what a man pause is. He is digesting everything that's been going on with the two of you and considering whether or not this is something he'd like to proceed with. Okay? Now, with that said, we're going to go on to reason number 2. Number 2 is that he meets someone that piques his interest and pushes him into that man pause, so that he, again, is considering long-term feelings for you versus this other woman. Now, I know this freaks a lot of women out too, okay? And I can understand this one freaking you out a little bit more than the first one freaking you out, but now that you know the first one, you don't have to freak out anymore. Him being in the second one, where a woman pushes him into the man pause, isn't necessarily a bad thing either. Because sometimes men get the opportunity to see how amazing you are by spending a little time with another woman before you two hit exclusivity. Most women get all shitty about this and really pissed off, but the truth is that you should be considering other options as well. So the two of you are on equal playing ground. But the man pause, still in this case, is not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean that he'll end up coming back to you, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in just a second. The third option is, and this, ladies, I'm going to tell you, is not, it happens. I'm not going to lie, it does happen, but it's not quite as common as you think. Okay? He can be a complete douchebag, and he was just looking for the hookup. So, yes, like I tell all of my clients, yes, men want to have sex with you. It is a natural response to his attraction to you. He wants to have sex with you, but it's not a reason to get upset, and freak out. What happens a lot of time is a woman will get caught up in all those feelings and emotions, and she does end up having sex, but it's before she really wanted to. So she's out of integrity with herself. He goes into a man pause, and then she freaks out because she's been more vulnerable than she has with somebody else necessarily. And again, she goes into obsessive mode, starts sending them all kinds of messages, and he can't handle that, and that pushes him away instead of just giving him a moment to pause, collect himself, digest everything that's going on, and consider a future with you. Okay. So again, though, that number 3, he's just a douchebag. There are guys that's all they're looking for is the hookup, and once they get that, they just disappear, and there's nothing that you could have done about it. So just make sure if you are going to have sex with a man that you're doing it because you really want to have sex and not because you're hoping it's going to turn into a long-term relationship. It is a risk you take. It is a smaller risk, but even more importantly and more common is that, you know, lots of women have sex early on. Okay, that's up to you. That's 100% your decision. But what's the important piece of that is that you don't freak out afterwards. He may disappear. That's a small percentage if you're not freaking out. He's more likely to disappear if you do freak out and start over texting him, putting all of your energy in him. Okay? All right, number 4. This happens a bit. It happens quite a bit. And by the way, this happened with my guy. Now, there is no other person in this world who teaches dating that's going to tell you that you should give a guy a chance if you don't hear from him for a very long time. Okay? But I am here to tell you, not only have I heard of great relationships coming from the fact that we women don't have to get all shitty about a guy not contacting us regularly before we become exclusive. Now, after exclusivity, another story. But my husband used to go for up to 5 weeks at a time without contacting me. I could have freaked out about it, but I'm going to tell you how I didn't in a minute. I could have freaked out about it. I chose not to. I chose to let things unveil themselves. And amazingly enough, we became an exclusive couple, married and together 9 years later. Pretty amazing. Again, nobody's going to tell you that. Everyone is going to tell you if he's not paying attention to you, then just let him go. But I'm here to tell you, if you allow the process to unravel, and I'm going to tell you how to do it so that you're not freaking out, meanwhile, you're going to understand that there are things that are way beyond our control. But the whole stress in his he can have a lot of stress in his personal life. A lot. He might have a lot of stress going on. He might be, financial things might be a little bit shaky. He doesn't want to put this on you, and he isn't ready to share this with you. This does happen. Again, important that you're not bombarding him with the "is everything okay" text again and again and again. Are you mad at me? Are you this? Are you that? Don't do that. All right? Just understand that this might need a minute or two to unravel itself. All right. Now, with that said, I know you came here for the why, the big why. Why did he disappear? And I gave you the top reasons for why he probably disappeared. Here's the thing. The why is not near as important as the how you react to the situation, because you're thinking knowing the why is going to help you figure out how to get him back. The why doesn't help you get him back, okay? The why is just for you to soothe what's going on in your head. The how-to and the what you do is what's going to give you a chance, if there is one. So the first thing you have to do is not freak out. Repeat, do not freak out under any circumstances just because you haven't heard from a guy or his pattern in communication changed. It happens. It's okay. It doesn't mean the death of everything. We like to say it does in our head because we think we're protecting ourselves. We're not protecting ourselves from anything, ladies. Nothing. So just take a deep breath and don't freak out. And here's the key. Get back to the things that you were neglecting, because I know I've personally done it, and I know you've done it too. You meet a man, you're having this whirlwind romance, that you're going out a lot, you're spending a lot of time at his place, you're staying up all night, you're talking on the phone all night, things like that. You start neglecting the other things in your life. Like if you have, like your work, your friendships, your duties at home, there's all kinds of things to neglect, And so on top of being worried about whether or not he's going to contact you again, you're feeling all freaked out because you're unsettled. You feel out of control in other pieces of your life that you've been neglecting. So you need to start tending to, right away, the things that you've been neglecting. This is key. This is a big one, big one. All right. Number 2, don't start texting him, asking him if everything's okay or if he is mad at you. Not a good idea. Don't do it. Don't do it at all. All right? Number 3. I think this one is probably the most important. If you guys have not discussed being in an exclusive relationship, and I'm going to say this time and time again, just because you both say that you're not sleeping with anybody else, that is not an exclusive relationship. An exclusive relationship is when a man or you, the two of you discuss, and he has said, yes, I want you to be my girlfriend. Yes, I want to be in an exclusive relationship with you and not see anybody else, not just not sleep with anybody else, okay? Only then do you have an exclusive relationship. If it's not said, there's still no exclusive relationship, okay? So if you're not in that exclusive relationship, you should be opening up your options, okay? If you're only investing in him, you've put yourself into an exclusive relationship that he's not in. And that, most of the time, doesn't end well. And it hurts. It hurts really well. So I need you to start considering your options, your genuine options in men. But no worries, I've got help for you. What I want you to do is I want you to go to this website. You don't have to do that part alone. Go to Irresistibility, ERRESISTIBILITY.com. Irresistibility. You can press pause for a second if you're watching this on the replay and get your first 2 chapters for free. All right? Now that you're opening up your options, the romantic fairy godmama tells you right away that's not a request. That's not a request at all. I know what you're thinking. Open up your options. And number 4, this is a big one. All right. After you start opening up your options, you can contact him again. All right. Send him a fun text, genuinely excited to see him. Not an accusing text, none of that. That can be anywhere from, I'd say 3 days. 3 days after you've not heard from him, that's fine. You know, you've started to open up your options. You've realized that, hey, you guys aren't truly exclusive yet, so you're not shutting down what's available out in the universe for you. Then you can send him a fun text. If you don't hear back from him, I want you to understand something. So you remember the guy I was obsessed with? We'll call him John. What I realized after a while, and especially after I met my now husband, is that it was universal protection that I never heard from him. And that's what it is for you too. Sometimes this isn't about him at all. Actually, all of the time it's not about him at all. This is your opportunity, and it is an opportunity for you to trust in yourself that this person is not being brought into your life for a damn good reason. The universe is protecting you. So be okay with that. Just be okay with the fact that he might not be your man. But that doesn't mean your man isn't out there. It just means it's your job to give your man an opportunity to step up and be your man. Capiche? Okay. Again, understand that number 4, if you didn't hear from him again, it is universal protection. So I know, lover girl, I know personally how hard it is to deal with a man who disappears on you that you really, really like. I get it. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so much. But one of the things that I did even though it took me a while to get this guy out of my head, it took me probably about 3 months. One of the things I did is I honored myself by allowing myself to genuinely open up my options in men. And I got rewarded. I was rewarded and protected because first and foremost, yes, I knew that I really liked this guy and I was sad that he disappeared on me. But then I met somebody even better. I found my upgrade. So one of the things I wrote in one of my blog posts, my most frequent blog post, is called "If You Want Him." You can look that up on havehimyourway.com. If you want him, and it's the principle of MantourageDating. It's if you want him, date other men too. If he mans up, he's yours. If he doesn't, he never was. All right? So if you remember, if you love something, set him free. If he comes back, it's yours. If he doesn't, he never was. Same principle. You're going to add the component of MantourageDating, dating more than one man at a time until you have exclusivity, not just sexual exclusivity, until you have relationship exclusivity. Believe in yourself. Know that you can open up your options to men. There are men out there that will make you feel even better than this man does. I know it's hard to believe when you're in that moment, but if you can remove yourself, you're going to logically use your brain, logically disassemble what's going on and understand that your insecurities are speaking. You're so worried that you're never going to feel this way about another man that you're not giving yourself an opportunity. Once you start giving yourself opportunity, you're going to understand the magic of MantourageDating. You're going to build confidence, you're going to create great boundaries, and you're going to meet the love or loves of your life. So thank you, lover girl. That's what I've got for you today. I was really excited to tackle this topic. Again, one that I could talk on for days. I look forward to getting more questions from you. You can go to my website at havehimyourway.com and you can click on the little link if you want to ask me a question for FairyDustTV Live. Click on the little link and fill out the form. The link says need help with your dating life. It's on the right hand side. I will see you next week. Mwah. Ciao.